Hello, John.
Hi, Yulia. How are you?
Good to hear you. Good to see you. Good to
Nice to
see you in
see you
this
too.
space, virtual. Soon we'll meet in Myrtle Beach at the Techno Security. But for now, let's enjoy the opportunity to see each other here and
Yeah,
to catch up. You know that last Monday we had a firmware release for TaskForce
yeah, that's
2024.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the middle of a war. Yeah, wow.
Mm,
Our code,
yeah.
amazing.
Mm. Yes. Kudos to our colleagues who, despite this difficult circumstance, were able to pull this through and complete what has been planned for this release. And the most important feature of this release is logical acquisition. I just want to show you a little bit of that, and
Yeah, great.
I will record a session so that we can
Oh,
show it maybe to a larger audience. Should this be interesting? Let's see
okay,
what. Let's
sure.
see how it
Sounds good.
works. Hmm? Okay.
Good thing I fixed my hair.
Okay. So it was released on April 11th. We now have the logical acquisition module in TaskForce. And to explain how it influences the tool, its capabilities, and the work of the investigators using it, let's just remind that we're talking about a machine that's capable of imaging at 15 terabytes per hour by using multiple imaging sessions, because this tool has 18 ports, 6 SATA, 6 SAS, 4 USB, 1 ID, 1 extension slot for other interfaces such as Apple PCIe, NVMe PCIe SSDs, and Thunderbolt and Firewire, right? So I'll show you. I have here TaskForce and drives connected to it.
Great.
There's a RAID array connected to TaskForce, and also a drive with some data. And I will show you how logical acquisition works. Okay, I'll start presenting now. Okay, so we are now in the home page, which you know very well, and we will go to logical, and let's see what we have on this drive. So here we have a Samsung SSD with 2 partitions on it, and you can already see that some of these filters have already been applied, but I want to just show you from scratch how to use the filters in logical imaging. You can do all files. You can just image basically all the files that you can find on the drive, or you can try to find specific ones. So you include certain types if you want to, right? So you can, for example, say I want to image archives and databases and documents. And
So you don't have to come up with the file extensions or the names or anything. You just
exactly.
come up with the types that's already built in.
Yes, exactly. So you have that, and you can select the time span within which the files were modified, accessed, or created. So
Oh, cool.
here I will select that, for example, I want to see all the files, want to image all the files from January 1st of 2000 and up until a couple of years ago, right? So
So if an investigator has a very good idea when crimes were being committed, they can just go
yeah.
drill down on that time span.
Yes, they can be as
Wow.
specific as they want to about this time span. And also they can select the size of the files that they want to have imaged. So for example, from 1 byte to infinity, or let's limit that to 5 megabytes, for example. We click OK, and then we want to maybe exclude something. For example, we don't want to have any files from the folders that are operation system folders.
Sure.
So we say we want to exclude those files. And you can add more, like you can add more files if you want to, if you think, I want to add actually some pictures and audio and maybe also video files, and maybe from a different time span, from just say 2014 until, okay.
So the date setting is not a global setting. It's for each type of files you're looking for.
Absolutely, yes, and you can set the size for this separate selection as well. And on top of that, what you can do is also select if you want to include or exclude. So by double clicking, you exclude a certain folder or file, and you can select or unselect as many as you want to. There is virtually no limit. Like we have tested it on hundreds of files and folders, and it all works smoothly. So you have all this listed here. This will be reflected in the imaging report. I will show you that at the end of this session. So let me show you one more thing. You can also save these filter settings for subsequent logical imaging sessions. So you can say, I want to do 22 logical April, right? Like this setting is from April 2012. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And then you click continue, you create a file. It can be, it's an L1 file that you can store either on your local network or on a target drive. Again, call it what you want. Maybe you just want to specify that this is logical. And select the hash type you want, whether you want to compress it or not. This will help you save your space, and enter any other details that you need. Create the file, and here it starts imaging. And you will see that it has already scanned thousands of files and imaged just some of them that fall into the selection that you've made. And here we have a logical imaging completed report that gives all the details, of course, of the drive, of the target, the stats of what has been imaged, how much, and the timestamps. And if you want to see the specific selection that you've made, this will be documented in the logical imaging started
that's great
report. So you can see all the types of files that we have been looking for.
Boy, that would take an investigator so much time to have to type that out every time.
Right.
That's
So
really
this
cool.
helps a lot. And imagine if that is what you can achieve. That's the time saving that you can achieve on a single drive. Imagine combining that with our RAID functionality.
It works with our RAID functionality.
Yes, just as well.
Okay.
So I have a RAID here. I will unmount it, and we'll start over with assembling it. So as you know, even if we do not know the configuration of a RAID, all we have to do is select the RAID members. So we have a bunch of drives. We select them, we say continue. And you can see here the drives are in this part of the screen. And here in the auto detection part of the screen, stage 1 is running. It's already at 60-something%. It's analyzing data that it reads from the drive to see what the order of the drives should be, what type of RAID it is, and it's trying to recognize it. And let's see how it will assemble.
And this is the only forensic imager that has anything like this to do with RAID, right? And this is in fact the only tool in the world that can detect and rebuild automatically an unknown RAID array, right? Still the only
Absolutely.
one?
This is the only hardware RAID imager in the world, forensic or otherwise. It's
Yeah.
the only tool in the world that you can use to just connect the drives and have TaskForce go through millions of possible configurations. Here in this case, it's only 10,000 configurations. But imagine having to do that work manually with TaskForce. You just do it all by basically clicking a few buttons and waiting for the result. And the cool thing is that I cannot imagine how a tool that doesn't have server-grade motherboard and CPU like TaskForce does, that would be able to go through all these configurations this fast to calculate all these possibilities based on the data it has read from the drives, and so quickly find the possible configurations for this RAID.
So this is kind of like the supercomputer of imagers, I suppose we could say. Can we say that?
We can totally say that, yes. Okay. And if we just simply click apply button here, what we have is partitions are shown immediately in the partition preview part of the screen. And here we can choose whether we want to go and physically image the whole RAID array, or we can go to logical and again save some time, do selective imaging of just the data that we need, of just the files and folders that we're interested in. And we can use the same settings that we just used on the single drive, or we can use anything from the previous searches that we saved, like previous settings for logical imagings. Or we can go ahead and do another selection and try to use that. But let me see what we can get with maybe this kind of settings. Okay, let's maybe add to that a few more. Like even if you have a setting that you've selected and you want to add a few more parameters to the search, you can do that on top. So,
and about how many parameters? Sorry to interrupt, but about how many parameters could someone use at the same time?
I don't think there's any limit on that. I think it's as many as you would like, and no. And again, you can select or unselect certain, folders, files, whatever you want. A partition. You don't have to image look through data on all the partitions. You can just select the ones you're interested in.
Huge.
Yeah, so comfortable, so convenient. And let's create another file and say again, I'm doing a logical imaging here. So here, we have a very fast result. We have looked through data on this RAID, and we found the 10 files that corresponded to the search parameters that we entered. So here, and again, the logical imaging started report will give you all the specifics about the filters that you've used and other practical things. A few more things that I want to mention as we are here in the interface still. I want to show that we have added this small button at case. This is optional. You can change if you want to have it or not in your settings. So you can go to settings and go down to cases. Here in the add case button, you can choose whether you want to have it or not. Here it will show up again. So that's convenient if your routine implies that you want to start by adding case details before you've diagnosed or imaged the drive. So before you do any action, you can just start by adding a case and creating a case for a certain drive that you have connected. And then another thing that will be handy for some of our customers, I want to find. Okay, let me go to cases. Yeah, for example, in this case, this is an NVMe drive, and we have a diagnostics report that's new. So the new addition to the NVMe diagnostics is an improvement to the firmware check of NVMe drives. So now
right.
the smart table, yeah. This was something that was much shorter in the previous editions of the firmware. This upgrade gives you just more details about the condition of the drive, and you can track the parameters of the drive as documented in its firmware.
That's great. So both those features, a couple things that we've been getting requests for from our users for
and us
a few months, I
constantly,
guess.
absolutely, and just us constantly looking for an opportunity to improve the interface and information that you can get from diagnostics, the rate functionality. By the way, the rate functionality in this edition has also been improved. We now have an alternative algorithm that we use to those rates that we have not been able to find the right configuration for. So for example, we have gone through stage 1 and stage 2 of autodetection process, just like I've shown you before when we were trying to assemble this rate. But if, for example, we have not, TaskForce has not been able to find a possible configuration, there will be an optional third stage applied, and it will try to validate the partitions it finds and the file systems it finds by checking how many of the files it finds can be validated using our own algorithms. So if in this case we have 100% of the checked files have been successfully validated, we will give here a suggestion of a possible configuration that may not have resulted in 100% of the files validated, but it may allow you to reassemble the drive and look at the partitions, at some of the partitions, at some of the files, and this may help in some of the cases. So
Great.
that's basically what I wanted to show you today. I hope you enjoyed this preview.
No, that's great. We should talk more often. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, and I think once again that it's amazing that we were able to publish this firmware update now. We're already working on the new software edition for Atola Inside Forensic. It's coming in a few weeks.
Wow, a few weeks.
Yes,
already.
Our engineers are already on it. Yes, we're gonna release it quite soon.
Wow.
And we will continue to improve the functionality of both Inside and TaskForce. We get so many requests, as you know, and we will continue to improve.
That's awesome. We continue to listen to our customers and produce results as quickly as possible to help them do their work better, as usual. That's awesome. Yeah. Wow. Even now.
Even now. Yes, always. All right. Thanks.
Appreciate the update. Thanks so much.
Yay. Thanks. All right. See you later.
You take care.